In the late 1980s, Brazil became the setting for one of the most unsettling discoveries ever recorded in forensic history. A mutilated corpse was pulled from the edge of an artificial lake outside São Paulo. To this day, questions linger. Who, or perhaps what, left the body in such a terrifying condition? It was the afternoon of September 29, 1988. The sky above São Paulo glowed with bright sunshine, the kind of weather that promised a hot Brazilian summer ahead. South of the bustling city lay the enormous Billings Reservoir, its vast waters shimmering with an inviting calm. For many locals, it was a place to fish, to escape the heavy urban air, or simply to rest by its banks. Yet beneath that surface beauty lay danger. Each year, people lost their lives there, some by drowning, others murdered and discarded in its waters. The reservoir was infamous as a dumping ground for gangland victims. But occasionally, something appeared that was stranger and far more disturbing than crime or accident. And on this particular day in 1988, a discovery would horrify not only the nearby villagers but years later, people around the world. A young boy, wandering alone after school with a slingshot at his side, strolled along the banks of the reservoir. His intention had been simple: to hunt small birds and animals hidden in the long grass and wooded stretches that surrounded the water. But what he encountered that day would scar his memory forever. His attention was drawn to a large cluster of vultures circling and descending on the opposite bank. At first he assumed they had found an animal carcass, but the sheer number of scavengers unsettled him. Driven by curiosity, he fired a stone from his sling, scattering the birds. When the flock lifted away, the truth beneath their wings became horrifically clear. It was not an animal's body at all, but the mutilated remains of a man. Shocked and frightened, the boy ran to the nearest settlement where he breathlessly told the villagers what he had found. Authorities were quickly notified. A fire truck and officers from the Santo Amaro Police Department arrived at the site within hours. After only a brief look, they recognized the situation was beyond their usual jurisdiction. Soon, the entire area was cordoned off, swarming with additional police officers and medical staff. By nightfall, rumors were spreading through nearby communities, but the press remained silent. Nothing appeared in newspapers or television reports that evening. Under the cover of darkness, investigators quietly removed the body and their equipment, leaving behind only a few trampled patches of grass and strips of police tape tangled in the reeds. By the next morning, it was as though nothing had happened. Over time, the incident slipped into rumor and fading memory, eventually becoming a half-forgotten legend among locals. It might have stayed that way forever, if not for an unexpected twist of fate. 6 years later, in 1994, the coroner's full report, along with gruesome photographs, was somehow leaked to the press. Small articles began appearing in different newspapers and journals. Someone, possibly a government insider, had found the case too disturbing to keep hidden and decided to expose it. The details were shocking. The condition of the body raised more questions than it answered. Authorities themselves wondered whether it was even possible for another person to have inflicted such injuries. The man's identity was confirmed using dental records. His name was withheld from public release out of respect for his relatives, though within smaller circles it became known. What was certain is that he was a 53-year-old man with a history of epilepsy and alcoholism. He often visited the reservoir to fish and had been reported missing 3 days before his corpse was found. Family members later confirmed he had a habit of leaving his clothes hidden in the woods on one bank, swimming across to reach better fishing spots. Police indeed discovered his clothing stashed away in the underbrush across from where the body was located. But whatever his routine had been, the condition of his body was unlike anything authorities had ever seen before. According to the autopsy, both eyes had been removed along with the eyelids. His tongue was missing, as was his left ear. Flesh around the jaw, lips, and neck had been carefully excised, with a piece of jawbone absent altogether. Investigators noted unusual perforations, each about 1.5 inches in diameter, in the armpits, arms, and legs. These openings were not random. They appeared uniform in size and placement. In some cases, paired holes were perfectly symmetrical, directly opposite one another across the body. Through these openings, entire muscles and tissues had been extracted. Even more chilling was the state of his torso. The chest and stomach appeared sunken as though hollowed out. When the coroner examined internally, he discovered nearly every major organ had been removed. The liver, kidneys, stomach, intestines, and pancreas, all gone. Yet there were no surgical incisions on the abdomen. Instead, a small circular puncture near the navel suggested the organs had been sucked out through the strange orifices, in a manner that defied normal medical explanation. Even more horrifying, the rectum had been cored out, leaving a gaping cavity, and the man had been castrated. His entire body had been drained of blood, despite vultures having swarmed the corpse. When it was first found, there were no signs that they had actually fed on it. Not a single peck or tear matched typical scavenger activity. The forensic team noted something even more peculiar. The cuts and extractions bore an almost surgical precision. The edges were clean, as though done swiftly and expertly. Wounds showed no signs of bleeding, possibly because the blood was removed simultaneously or because the injuries were cauterized during the process. Strangely, rigor mortis had not set in, even though the man had been dead for over 24 hours and there was no odor of decomposition. Toxicology tests revealed another mystery. No anesthetics, sedatives, or paralytic agents were present in the body. And yet there were no marks of restraint, no bruises from being tied or held. This meant he must have been conscious throughout the procedure, somehow immobilized by a method unknown to modern medicine. When the coroner examined the skull, he found it intact except for signs of cerebral edema, swelling of the brain. Such swelling without head trauma suggested death by extreme suffering. The official cause of death listed in the report read, acute hemorrhage and multiple traumatisms, with contribution of vagus stimulation causing cardiac arrest. Put simply, the man died of heart failure induced by unbearable pain. The report also noted clear evidence of torture. Initially, police suggested a more mundane explanation. They speculated the man had combined alcohol with his epilepsy medication, suffered a seizure while swimming, and drowned. His body, they argued, was then ravaged by animals and insects. But the coroner's findings contradicted this theory. The victim had not been dead long enough for natural decomposition to cause such damage, nor was there evidence of animal feeding. No bite marks, no claw scratches, no tearing consistent with scavengers. Instead, the body's condition pointed to something deliberate and highly unnatural. Still, the authorities closed the case quickly, officially attributing the death to natural causes related to illness and lifestyle. For this reason, the story remained largely unknown outside Brazil. Even within the country, few were familiar with the disturbing details. Many accused officials of a deliberate cover-up. Evidence supports this suspicion. Not only did the case stay hidden for 6 years, but when reports finally surfaced, most publications incorrectly claimed the body had been discovered at the Guarapiranga Reservoir. In truth, it had been at Billings Reservoir several miles away. Researchers believe this misreporting may have been intentional, a way to muddy the facts and mislead the public. But why such secrecy, if the death were truly natural? Theories about what really happened fall into 4 main categories. The first accepts the official explanation of natural causes. The second suggests unusual animal activity. The third proposes murder by human hands. The fourth, more speculative, points to something beyond human understanding. Let us consider each in turn. The natural causes theory rests largely on the victim's health problems. Epileptic seizures can, in rare circumstances, result in fatal complications. A particularly violent episode can restrict oxygen to the brain, leading to cerebral edema. Seizures can also place enormous strain on the heart, and in someone middle-aged, alcoholic and physically weakened, cardiac arrest is possible. Yet this explanation does not account for the horrific mutilations, the surgical holes, the missing organs. Even if he had died naturally, how could his body have ended up in such a condition afterward? Some proposed scavengers or burrowing creatures might be responsible. Could insects, rodents, or aquatic animals have entered through natural openings and consumed tissues from within? At first glance, it might seem plausible, but the uniformity of the holes, their symmetry, and the cauterized edges challenge this theory. The coroner himself dismissed animal predation as unlikely. Natural decomposition and scavenging could not produce wounds of such precise surgical quality. The possibility of homicide raises further difficulties. For another human being to inflict such injuries would require surgical training, specialized tools, and perhaps suction devices. Yet organ extraction through suction usually damages the organs themselves. Here, the removal seemed strangely clean, even though the organs were missing entirely. There were no defensive wounds, no restraints, and no evidence of a struggle. Why would a killer, even a sadistic one, go to such bizarre lengths? Torture seemed evident, but the method was unlike any known criminal behavior. In fact, investigators ruled out homicide early, citing a lack of supporting evidence. That leaves the final possibility, one that requires us to step beyond conventional explanations. Could something not human have been involved? Locals whispered of strange occurrences around the reservoirs, of unidentified creatures lurking in the forests. Cryptid enthusiasts have speculated that the man might have been attacked by an unknown predator. Still, no concrete evidence exists to support the existence of such a creature in São Paulo's outskirts. Yet the mutilations bore uncanny resemblance to another category of cases well documented around the world: animal mutilations attributed to UFO activity. For decades, cattle and other livestock have been discovered with eyes, tongues, and organs removed in surgical-like fashion, often completely drained of blood. The similarities between those cases and the São Paulo victim are striking. When the coroner was later shown photographs of animal mutilations linked to UFO theories, he admitted the resemblance was extraordinary. The same clean cuts, the same precise removal of eyes and jaw tissue, the same odd holes suggesting suction of internal organs. Could the victim of Billings Reservoir have been subjected to some form of extraterrestrial experimentation? If so, it would imply a chilling disregard for human life. According to the autopsy, the man endured the ordeal while fully conscious, paralyzed by an unknown force, suffering the removal of eyes, tongue, and organs without anesthesia. To imagine an intelligence, human or otherwise, capable of such cruelty is deeply disturbing. Over 35 years have now passed since the discovery. Officially, the case remains closed, with authorities standing by their conclusion of natural death. Yet in the eyes of many, the mystery is far from resolved. Too many details resist explanation. The surgical precision, the missing blood, the absence of decomposition, all challenge the natural or criminal explanations. Whether it was a tragic medical episode coincidentally followed by bizarre post-mortem damage, a secret experiment gone wrong, an attack by an unknown predator, or something truly unearthly, no one can say for certain. Photographs of the autopsy still circulate, though they are far too graphic to display here. Those who search online for Guarapiranga Reservoir mutilation, despite the error in reported location, will find them. Be warned, the images are profoundly disturbing. They are not easily forgotten. For the family of the victim, the pain never faded. Whatever the truth may be, a man lost his life in a way that defies understanding. To this day, his death remains one of the most chilling unsolved cases in forensic history. May he rest in peace.